Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the National Press Club, where we're covering the annual ComDef conference, a flagship event in Washington every year for the international security cooperation folks in the Pentagon, in industry, and up on Capitol Hill. And we're honored to have with us the Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force for International Affairs, Major General Larry Martin. Did I get that right, sir?
Absolutely, Vago. Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule for us. Talk to us a little bit about how important this event is. You know, annual staple. It's been going on since 1987. It's the 30th anniversary. Why is ComDef such an important conference, and why is it always so well attended by everybody in the international security cooperation business in the Pentagon?
It's well attended because it provides a good forum for us as leaders to both get our messages out and then to interact with a lively group that is very engaged for going forward. The security cooperation effort involves both government, industry, and our national partners. ComDef brings all of them together.
There's been a lot of concern in some circles that international security cooperation is going to fray in part in this new administration. The president has, questioned, for example, NATO has taken a tone, whether it's on climate, that some of our allies are concerned. You're in this business on a day-to-day basis. What are you seeing from some of our allies and the strength of our international security cooperation partnerships?
Vago, the strength of those partnerships remains extremely strong. The world is a complex, dangerous, and interesting place as we go forward, never boring. Those partners remain close with us, and that's a hallmark of the fact of the time and effort that the United States government, along with our partners, has put into those relationships.
Where are the focus areas? You know, we see Japan, for example, increasing defense spending at a time of great crisis from concern from Tokyo's perspective with North Korea, but also with China and its territorial claims. There's a 2% budget increase that's happening there. South Korea, one of our closest allies, is also under a lot of stress, obviously with the crisis that's going on with North Korea. Talk to us particularly about those two countries and how the United States is supporting both the growth in Japanese but as well as the growth in Korean capabilities.
Well, we remain very committed with both of the partners, both with their legacy, their older fourth-generation aircraft systems, but also as both of the nations procure and advance with fifth-generation systems, particularly the F-35. Both nations very excited about those capabilities. Recently, General O'Shaughnessy, the commander of Pacific Air Forces, held a conference with the partners in the Pacific to work through the interoperability issues as we bring those new technologies on. That's a good symbol of the closeness and the relationship that we maintain with both those air forces.
You and Ms. Grant, all of her predecessors, have always made clear that arms sales are not the purpose of what we're doing. We're building security cooperation partnerships around the world. But what are some of the priority campaigns? Because it's in the United States' interest to ensure that its allies have similar equipment in their inventory. From an interoperability standpoint, that's a huge boon. Where are some priority campaigns around the world, whether you're looking at Asia, but particularly in the Middle East as well?
Well, we remain committed to working with the combatant commanders and working through their priorities. One of General Hooper, the new director at Defense Security Cooperation Agency's priorities is to make sure that we doing security cooperation are aligned with the combatant commanders as they work forward in their efforts. So we're doing our best to help work with them to prioritize the partners around the world to that end.
When it comes to Qatar, does that obviously one of the most important military bases in the region, very, very key to our campaigns in the region. There is a dispute. The United States is trying to mediate that between Saudi Arabia and its allies and Qatar and its allies. How is that affecting the security cooperation picture, and what's the role, particularly for the Air Force, given its large presence in the country? Talk to us a little bit about the whole situation and what your role is in whether it's in mediating or ensuring a positive outcome to that situation.
We work the relationships often in a bilateral sense with each of the nations in the region, and those relationships remain strong. The administration, the government is committed to trying to help our partners in that region work out their differences, but on an individual basis, the partnerships remain very strong.
And let me take you one last question, both in Iraq and Afghanistan. U.S. training has been very, very important. U.S. Air Force training has been critical. We're looking at a smaller generation of counterinsurgency aircraft, for example, to support our allies. Talk to us a little bit about, bring us up to speed on both of the key programs in both of the countries as they try to step up their capabilities at a time when the United States and its allies have fewer troops in these countries, in which case they have to do more on their own for their own security.
Well, in Iraq, we continue to work with them as they build across their entire portfolio. Iraq is a nation engaged in war and is making difficult choices about how they're going to spend their national treasure. The President just began to discuss the new South Asia strategy, which commits us to working on a condition base with Afghanistan as we work forward. That facilitates us as we work for security cooperation. Building air forces takes time. The Afghan Air Force has done a great job, along with our partners as they go forward, taking on more and more operations in Afghanistan. We'll continue to support them to that end.
Let me also ask you very quickly about Europe. A lot of concern there. NATO alliance trying to build up its capabilities. The United States is a key part of that. Talk to us about some of the key initiatives that your office has in Europe with our partners as they try to bolster their capabilities in the face of Russian aggression.
As we support General Walters and his team in Europe, they're fully engaged with the NATO partners. As much as in the Pacific, a good part of that effort has been devoted to bring fifth-generation technologies on while we integrate them and make sure they're integrated with fourth-generation technologies. General Walters just held a conference with the partners who are bringing fifth-generation on to that very end. The U.S. Air Force will be flying fourth-generation aircraft for many decades to come, and so we're committed to working with our partners across the spectrum of the technologies they have, but more importantly, to build the capabilities with them that we'll need to secure the defense.
Sir, Major General Larry Martin, thanks so much for spending so much time with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Vago. Have a good day.